Hello, good morning and welcome to the show. This is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. It's a Tuesday, the 16th day of April, 2024. By His grace, we're alive and we're here. We're yet another edition of the show. Our gratitude to the Most High God for the rare privilege of being alive and, of course, the opportunity of having another conversation around the top stories making the rounds here at the Republic. Sorry. I'll let you into our panel for the morning's conversation shortly, but let's take a look at the front page of the newspapers. Daily Graphic. 50 years after establishment, NSS gets first policy. Graphic, SIC step-up partnership. Odor Basin, encroachment hampers detention ponds project. Daily Guide, no new taxes, Finance Minister assures. December polls, Mahama promises military barracks in new regions. NACOC staff arrested over cocaine smuggling. President launches national service policy. Arrest drivers charging illegal fares. The New Crusading Guide. Ghana's external debt deal not stalled. Amin Adam clarifies. Baumia's flat tax regime will be a game changer in reducing cost of doing business. Paul Chumberima. J.K. Hoggle Transport wins Total Energy Most Reliable Transport Award 2023. Adan Chief accused of defrauding his sub-chief. Ahudu Messina High School to celebrate 60th anniversary. And the New Crusading Guide says that in its Monday, April 15, 2024 edition, that's yesterday, it carried a story on its front page under the headline, IMF confirms Ghana's economic revival. And under that story, an image of the former finance minister was used instead of the current minister, Mohamed Amin Adam. And the paper says it sincerely apologizes to the cherished readers and the two personalities for the error. The Insight. Alan Martin, he promises to establish free port enclave at Tema Port. Military officers allegedly linked to Electrochem unleashed terror at Ada. One salt farmer beaten to pulp. Stolen BVDs. NDC demands full, transparent investigation. And Shraj appeals to President Kufuor to urgently sign anti-witchcraft bill. Well, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has also made some orders directed at the Electricity Company of Ghana Limited. Quite interesting orders in there. We're back shortly. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. With me on the show this morning, I have a Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, Haruna Mohammed, here with me on the show. Good morning, Haruna.
Good morning, Doc.
You're not yet allergic?
I'm not yet.
Okay. So I have two people who are still working on themselves to determine when they'll be ready for the pilgrimage. Okay. So the Member of Parliament for the Tamale North Constituency, Alhaji Al-Hassan Saibu Suhini, is with me on the show. Good morning, Alhaji.
Good morning, but I hope I'm not part of the two people.
You have played yourself. So let me Haruna.
I'll redeem myself.
Well, they say it's a calling, actually, so it doesn't matter. It's a calling. It doesn't matter your ability or your status.
Last year I was at the Hajj village. My passport had gone through and I had to withdraw. Right. So because it's a calling, I was not called.
It means that probably the day before you got involved in all manner of things. The Quran and your conscience convicted you.
Wanted to do what some people call for the last.
So we pray for grace for you.
Amen.
So you're able to do it. This is a very integral pillar as far as your religion is concerned. So. Anyway, well, so if you're looking for a toothpaste for the family, a top quality toothpaste for the family, that will also save you money, the recommended family toothpaste is KEL 360 toothpaste. It's approved by the Food and Drugs Authority. KEL 360 toothpaste provides you and your family with all-round dental protection throughout the day with freshness. KEL 360 toothpaste is good for kids, children, and adults. Let your family be a proud family when they step out by constantly using KEL 360 toothpaste. KEL 360 toothpaste brightens your teeth, prevents cavity, and with its cool mint, gives you fresh breath throughout the day and protects the gum from decaying. For consistency and quality, use KEL 360 toothpaste. It is another product from Samara Company Limited, producers of Sasu, and KEL 360 is available in all supermarkets, malls, and provision shops. Call Samara Company on 0246 864 798. KEL 360 toothpaste, happy smile. And the pains of climbing the stairs when not exercising could be challenging irrespective of your age. But worry no more, because lift and elevators have got you covered with the best portable American pneumatic vacuum elevators on the market today. It's a simple self-supported elevator for both offices. And guess what? It can lift your goods too. Wheelchairs can fit in, and they come in 3 custom-made models. It's affordable and can be installed within 3 days. Visit Lift and Elevators at Sakuman or just call them on 0200-535-515, 0200-535-515, or send a mail to elevatorsgh@gmail.com for consultations and the best solutions in easy vertical movement. All right. So, Aruna, let me start off with you. Deputy General Secretary, NPP, how long have you held this position?
Randy, first and foremost, I say good morning to your cherished viewership.
Right.
Before I got to where I am today, I was a Deputy National Communications Director.
Okay.
In the first administration. My boss was Yabo Abina Samoa.
Okay.
We were 10 deputies
10
altogether. Yes. Myself, Kofi Ajapong, Zimpari, Dr. Richard Asante-Abua, Richard Nyama, Mameya Boaji, Jennifer Queen Oforiwa, and the others. We were 10. So after, we were to assist in terms of deputizing the then communications director.
I see.
That was the first time we had 10. We were having 3 then before our appointments. Then after the 2022 elections, the National Council...
2022 party elections?
Yeah, party elections. The National Council of our party appointed me somewhere in August 2022 to be a deputy to lawyer Justin Kodua-Frimpong.
Okay. So proud to becoming deputy comms. What were you doing in the party?
I was
based in Accra?
I was with the youth wing. I'm based in Tamale.
Okay.
Specifically.
So you guys know each other?
Very well.
Okay. Okay.
I was with the regional youth wing. I work under Rashid COP.
Yeah.
I was doing research work for the regional youth wing. And in my constituency, I was the coalition officer from 2008, the IT officer for the Zabzugu constituency, after we had some disruptions in 2004. And I believe that with proper coalition, we'll be able to win. And since then, we have never lost presidential elections in Zabzugu up to date. We only lost parliamentary in 2016 to the NDC, unfortunately, with a margin of 157 votes. Okay. I later became the regional IT coordinator for the party. And
what happened in 2020 in that constituency?
2020 we won. Okay. They took us to court, and then the court affirmed the declaration made by the Electoral Commission.
You won by how many votes?
It was left with about 3 votes to 3,000 difference.
Okay. All right. Okay. At least we can start off then with the Electoral Commission. Yes.
And because of that, I'll hold my guns, because I was going to say something about Zabzugu. But since we are starting with electoral, because you see, he knows that the last election, they did not fairly win Zabzugu.
They didn't?
They didn't fairly win Zabzugu. Even as we speak, I am very sure that there is one ballot box or so that is still in the custody of the police. I mean, it was
the custody of who?
The police. It was an election that was declared in the NPP's candidate's backyard at the time. And yes, you know it. Look, what happened was that the MP now was the deputy regional minister at the time. Okay. And I actually feel very sorry for him because, you see, he put in everything that he had, to win that seat for the party. And unfortunately, as we speak, he has been muzzled out after their last primaries. he used the state.
Oh, he's no longer a candidate.
Yeah, he lost their primaries in the last election, and the deputy chief of staff, my very good friend and brother,
Fawaz, that's where Fawaz.
Yes, Fawaz is now the candidate. You know,
it means that he lost the election. He was not muzzled out.
You know, I'm saying, well, he lost the election, but you see, power past power. He used the power to snatch the seats from the NDC in 2020, and then executive influence also has displaced him during their internal party primaries. Okay. So the truth is that, as if you like, the one in charge of Rexec at the time, as deputy regional minister, he used all the forces at his disposal. Guns were fired at the polling. Warning shots here and there, and even though the NDC people in Zabzugu stood their grounds, they did all that they could to prevent, the rigging to take place. But in the end, they used force to declare their results that was even incomplete. And that is why the party went to court. And sometimes that is why I'm very excited when I hear His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama say that this time around, the NDC is not going to court for their results. We are going to ensure that the correct results are declared at the polling stations. Because, hardly do you get, and I repeat, hardly do you get any, fair outcomes, when you let things slip during the course of the elections, and then you go to the court. So our court will be the polling station this time around, and if they are minded to come again with guns this time around, I'm very confident that the civil disobedience in the interest of preserving our constitution will manifest itself in defense of the nation.
No,
yes.
You see, I come from the constituency. My brother has failed to appreciate the two facts of the matter. We had two petitions. We petitioned the NDC at the High Court in Tamale on Savulugu with respect to firing of guns. And the NDC petitioned the MPP for Zabzugu with respect to some related issues on coalition. And I was at the Electoral Commission throughout the period of the coalition. The box he's talking about is related to Savulugu, not Zabzugu.
No.
There was no ballot box issue in Zabzugu. If you take the statement of case by your party, there was nothing that was filed on a matter of ballot box. The ballot box case was related to Savulugu. Gun shooting was related to Savulugu. Zabzugu own was purely on coalition. And I can state here, without any fear of equivocation, that the collation of the results was done at the Regional Electoral Commission's office. And I was present. I was when
was it declared?
It was declared on the eve of the election.
Where?
At the Regional Electoral Commission.
You mean on the eve of the election? What time? What time?
I can't remember unless
you mean the day after the election?
Just the day, like in the around 12 getting to 1 a.m. of the elections.
So the night of the elections.
The night of the elections. I was at the Electoral Commission. Your representative, Doctor,
in darkness. The video is still trending online.
Yeah, the video is a propaganda video, but I'm a Muslim.
Video. And how can a video be a propaganda video?
Because
how can a video? Is it doctored?
You know the Electoral Commission office very well. When you enter through the front door, there is a corridor behind. After
it was declared in darkness.
In that corridor, that's where
with only the MPP candidate present.
ABBEY was there, but he failed to come in to even participate.
With only the MPP candidate and the MPP party people there.
And
it was declared in the darkness.
You brought them to the court.
Just deputy regional minister. But I am so sad for him that after all the sacrifices that he made, he did not. He wasn't recognized by this government.
But before you came
in this time around,
the current regional secretary was he muzzled out by you because he contested?
Oh,
you won.
Yeah, of course.
So that the same thing for us won.
He wasn't a candidate of the party, was he?
No, but he suffered.
But was he a candidate of the party? Can you imagine?
He has been protesting.
Was he a candidate?
So
you
came from the media cycle. You were doing very well in the media cycle. You came and then you.
And he was doing very well. And he was also doing very well in the party. And then we met at primaries, and I won.
And until we created a new region,
but
Salam wouldn't have been a regional executive.
In this case, I'm saying that he won. He was the candidate. He won it with all the powers at his disposal. In fact, I feel he snatched it. And then he was ignored. And then he has been muzzled out. You can't compare it to two scenarios where two young men are doing well for their parties and meet at primaries and one wins.
And that's the same thing. That's the same thing that went on with John.
How do you
that's
compare
the same thing that went with John. For us, went in and won as a young man.
The incumbent is called John.
Yes, the incumbent is called John. So for us, went in as a young man and won.
John Bernard.
That is the result of competition.
All right. Okay. So still talking about the EC. Yesterday, the NDC held a presser.
Yeah.
Okay. And the issue has been on the front burner for a while. If I recall correctly, I think I even read. Have you granted an interview on it?
Yes, I did.
I read something where you were on a program or you granted an interview or something.
Yeah, I did on Newsfile this weekend, and then also subsequently on your program. I'm sure that was with Muru.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm sure that's where I picked it from. And the concern that I had was that up until this point where we heard about some interdiction and some report too, we have been getting conflicting reports on this issue from the EC as to what exactly had happened after the NDC first raised the alarm publicly. I don't know if maybe at IPAC you had heard it, but the NDC claimed that nobody knew. They actually broke the story, and then we started seeing documentary evidence. Immediately the story came, it was just rubbished by the EC. I remember that I think Dr. Bosman was the first to speak to the issue, and we're made to think that, look, it was just nothing, some old equipment or something that. So we've had about 2 or 3 different stories up until this time where now we're told that people have actually been interdicted, that a report was made to. I've watched Dr. Manibu Ama, who was lucky to have had something agree for him to come sit on the show last minute, you know, and Dr. Sribo Kweku on the issue. And that's when we actually heard that there have been some interdictions. There was a report to the security agencies and all that. Prior to that, we've not heard that. But now, the NDC is called for an immediate independent investigation and unbiased audit to uncover the circumstances surrounding the theft of the missing biometric voter registration BVR kits from the Electoral Commission's headquarters. The NDC argues that without a thorough examination of this issue, the 2024 elections cannot be deemed free, transparent, and fair. This demand comes in response to a recent statement by the Electoral Commission indicating the interdiction of 3 officials by the alleged theft of BVRs. And speaking at the moment of truth, series at the NDC headquarters, General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Avikwete, said the EC must not downplay the significance of the missing equipment. He expressed concern that the EC's handling of the situation undermines trust in the integrity of the upcoming elections. In response to this dire situation, the NDC has laid down clear and non-negotiable demands to ensure the sanctity of our electoral system. An official written response to the 35 critical questions posed by the NDC at the IPAC meeting addressing the status and recovery efforts regarding the stolen biometric devices. We demand an immediate and comprehensive investigation into the theft of the BVR laptops and the related biometric equipment, including a forensic audit of the voters' register. This investigation, as we said, must be conducted by an independent body and supplemented with international observers to ensure neutrality and trust. The outcome must be a detailed report that not only identifies the people who are responsible, but also outlines significant corrective measures to prevent such breaches in the future. Additionally, the NDC is calling for a comprehensive audit of the EC's inventory and security protocols covering all BVR and BVD equipment to be performed by an independent auditor. We call for a complete audit into the EC's inventories and security measures. This inventory encompasses all BVRs and BVD equipment and must be carried out by an independent auditor to the integrity of all electoral materials. Now, we're told that 5 officials of the EC having placed an interdiction following allegations of theft involving BV. So, in one breath, BVR is used. In another breath, BVD is used. That's where the confusion starts. Now, Dr. Swibokweku, the Director of Electoral Services at the EC, disclosed this development while providing an update on the investigation to the missing devices. According to Dr. Kwaku, the interdicted officials have been handed over to the police to facilitate further inquiries into the matter. Emphasizing the importance of this step, he underscored the need for thorough investigations to ascertain the facts surrounding the alleged theft. And Dr. Kwaku reiterated the Commission's commitment to upholding justice and ensuring that those found culpable of misappropriating state assets face appropriate sanctions. Quote, what I can say on authority is that we lost one BVD in Norton, and what happened was that we normally package these things in ballot boxes. You put your systems and you seal. In the course of transporting, we got there, they couldn't transport the ballot boxes. So we reported to the police. We've lost this, and these are the suspects. So investigate and let them go through a legal regime. Whatever has to be done should be done. They've been interdicted. They are now going through investigation. So the police, I'm told, that they will be arraigned before court soon. Now, Sweeney, how did we get here? And is your party not asking for perhaps the impossible or too much? And perhaps taking advantage of this situation to once again paint the EC black?
Randy, I initially did not also get the opportunity to say good morning to our viewers, so let me do that, especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency, and good morning to Haruna and yourself. This is a very, very important issue, Randy, as far as the credibility of the next general election is concerned. I do not think that it is a matter that should be taken lightly by any well-meaning Ghanaian or any lover of democracy anywhere in the world, because it is at the core of the business of organizing fair elections. We have been hearing a lot of rumors, Randy, especially every time there are registration exercises. And my brother Harun will bear me out. There are times you get calls from your party members informing you of registration taking place in certain obscure areas, supervised by some party leadership, especially the ruling party leadership. Oftentimes we hear this. Indeed, Randy, there's a case currently pending before a court in Tamale involving some persons believed to be members of the NPP in an exercise similar to what is being discussed. And it had to do with the registration exercise that took place, I think, before the 2020 general elections in the Salaga North constituency, where they were apprehended with these BVD machines at their disposal, in fact, in their homes. I know that that case is still pending in Tamale. And it was as a result of those officials being arrested during a registration exercise when they had in their home a BVD or a BVR machine. And so when you hear of the ability of those in charge to make these machines available to people to conduct registration exercises outside the advertised schedules, and you dismiss them, and you think they are exaggerated reports or they are things that can happen, only for you to hear that the Electoral Commission actually lost that number of machines and did not even find it necessary to report it, not to the political parties and not to the police.
According to Dr. Kwaku, he says they made a report.
That was after they were caught. That
was what Dr. Manibama was pinning him on.
That's
to give the exact
exactly. That was after they were found out. Because you see, Randy, this matter. I'll tell you the genesis of it as far as I know it. Some few weeks before we went on break in Parliament, I was seated in the chamber when the former minority leader signaled me to his...
The Honorable
Haruna Idrisu signaled me to his seat. And when I got there, he showed me a text message containing the information that the Electoral Commission had lost these machines. And so he told me it was a credible source that he was getting it from. And so I should find a way of us, getting it into the media. So immediately, I called the current minority leader and then the chief whip. And the four of us had a meeting on this information. So the plan was for us to address the press conference that evening on the matter, because that was what we agreed to do. And so myself and the chief whip were tasked by the minority leader, the current minority leader, to ensure that the media was briefed on it. But that day became so busy that we did not find space to address the press. Fortunately, the following day, the Electoral Commission was to appear before the Special Budgets Committee of Parliament. So it was at that committee that the minority leader posed the question to the Electoral Commission. And they were shocked. Their body language showed that they did not expect this information to be in the public domain. And so they had no, option than to admit to the fact that they had lost these machines. And it was after this that immediately the minority leader addressed the press conference on this matter for the first time. And it is when the Electoral Commission went back that they started, trying to make amends by taking steps to report to the police and all of that. So that's what I'm saying.
At the Special Budget Committee here,
yes,
the Electoral Commission did not inform Parliament that one, they had interdicted some officials.
No.
That two, they've lodged an official complaint to the National Security.
No. And they had just admitted and said they were investigating.
Internally. Okay.
They had admitted and said they were investigating internally. I am very confident that there was no serious investigation taking place until after the meeting with the Special Budget Committee. And you recall that after that press conference by the minority leader, the rebuttal that came was to the effect that, there were some computers. There was not even BVD match. Something. Some weird explanations came from the Electoral Commission.
End of life.
I like that. Yeah. End of life. Yeah. So I'm saying that nobody should take this matter lightly. Because, we have been hearing reports of how people can personally hijack these machines, keep them in some obscure corners, and conduct some registrations outside the scheduled registration periods. We've never really had any reason to believe that these reports are accurate. But given the posture that I'm seeing from the Electoral Commission with regards to this missing biometric machines, I am beginning to believe that those reports are indeed, verifiable. Otherwise, I cannot understand for the life of me why they will treat...
The AC makes the point that even if it's landed in the hands of unauthorized persons, you will still need some codes to be able to access the system, to be able to use that to do something else. And so having the equipment by themselves will not enable you to be able to infiltrate the EC's system.
Randy, you see, I can...
But beyond the machine, you also need some codes.
Yeah, it's like if I assuming I had anything to do with the theft and I was a beneficiary of the theft, before the theft was known, I could have been seen taking names of people in my community that I'm going to register them. And anyone would have dismissed me by saying that, oh, but Sohene cannot register anybody. He will need to have access to the BVD machines before he can do that.
Yes.
And then finally, it is reported that, oh, indeed, the BVD machines are at my disposal. And the Electoral Commission again says that, oh, you will need some codes. Who says that those who have stolen these machines do not know how to get the codes? How do we know that those who have stolen these machines, if they have had the idea and the means to steal these machines, how sure are we that they do not have the means to get these codes? Again, if the Electoral Commission did not find these missing machines serious enough to report to the police and to conduct the thorough investigation that is required, how sure are we that the people who, took these machines, I don't even want to use the word stole, these machines, were not working in cahoot with some people within the commission? Maybe, and that's why the call of our election director.
That's why some 5 persons have been identified and interdicted. I'm sure on the basis of the role they play.
It is commendable, Randy, but let us not forget that is after the fact. That is after the fact that it has been exposed. And so one will say that perhaps they are now just doing this to seem like they are concerned.
Okay.
And that is why it is important to put everybody's mind to rest and to stop speculations like I am doing and like many other people will be permitted and fairly so to do. We must yield to the demand of the election director of the NDC and others that a thorough investigation must be conducted into this matter by an independent body. We must have a thorough audit of all the machines that we currently have and we intend to use for the registration next month. So that at least everybody is put at ease that there is nothing untoward about to happen or nothing untoward has ever happened and will never happen. But until then, given the circumstances of this loss, anybody will be forgiven to imagine and to think anything and any way. And that is not good for the credibility and the fairness that we want to see our Electoral Commission exude even before we get to the elections.
Right. So Aruna, we all cannot run away from the fact that there is a clear case of mistrust, and there's always been a clear case of mistrust in the EC, especially by the NDC and some others. And I'm sure they can point out to many, many reasons for which they hold that view. Now, I want to read to you some specific quotes from yesterday's presser that the NDC General Secretary addressed, Fifi Kwete. It says the theft of critical biometric equipment under the secure, in quotes, watch of the Electoral Commission not only poses a clear security risk, but also casts serious doubts on our ability to trust an institution that fails to safeguard essential equipment for a transparent and accountable election. That's the first one. It says the potential misuse of the stolen laptops in mock setups or training by malicious actors poses a direct threat to the integrity of Ghana's electoral system. It says the stolen laptops, even if they have undergone end-of-life process, can be blueprints for potential electoral sabotage. How can the EC overlook this? It says the EC's belated admission and subsequent confirmation at the IPAC meeting that some biometric verification devices, BVDs, are indeed missing, despite initial denials, seriously undermines any trust in their integrity and casts significant doubt on their credibility. The claim by the EC directors that the stolen BVR laptops are inconsequential due to the need for activation codes is dangerously misleading and naive. That's what I alluded to earlier in my question to you. Says the NDC demands full restoration of security for all ECU equipment, a thorough investigation, and complete accountability for the integrity of our elections. Says the stolen laptops can be dissected for hardware vulnerabilities, used in reverse engineering to uncover software flaws, or employed in setting up parallel systems to undermine electoral processes. The NDC demands clear answers to all 35 questions regarding the missing BVR kits and BVDs to uphold the sanctity of our elections. And it says the NDC salutes the vigilant Ghanaian whistleblowers who courageously expose the truth behind power abuses and corruption in various sectors. The dismissive responses from the EC officials to such a serious breach are unacceptable and insult the intelligence of every Ghanaian.
Randy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I believe that this is a matter that is concerned to every citizen of Ghana and every stakeholder who has interest in elections in Ghana specifically. I was fortunate to be on the same show with Omani Boama and Sribo because I was on Zoom, and these matters were being discussed. And it was in relation to BVRs, and you were talking about BVRs and BVDs. So these questions were posed to Sribo, and he did explain that when they talk about BVR, they are talking about biometric voter registration toolkits, where these computers are found in, and the BVDs are the biometric verification devices that are used for elections. So one is used for registration, and one is also used for voting purposes. Indeed, his admission on the missing of the BVR was in relation to Northtown, and he did explain that it was as a result of packing. You know, when you finish every registration process, all these materials are being packed into the entire registration kit, including a laptop, a scanner, and a host of other equipment that was mentioned on the show. I am tempted to believe that the acts of the NDC, when they were in power, they are assuming that the NPP is doing same of what they were doing. And it's very unfortunate because for us, we are not engaged in such activities.
But they've not accused you.
No, I'm saying because they did some things when they were in power. And I personally, in Sanarugu, you know, when there's registration, Tamale North and Sanarugu are done at one registration office. I happen to have gotten a gentleman who was a zonal executive of the award executives of NDC, who was in possession of certain registration materials. We reported that matter to the police. That matter was dealt with. And in several instances, equipments during the time that they were in power were found in the hands of many other individuals. And also the day report of registration, you know, when after the registration is done, after close of day, you take a report. And when you come back on the next day, you would have to also check to verify the number of registrants who are still on the machines. We have continuously to be very vigilant when it comes to registration and elections. Remember, the 2012 election petition is still very fresh and in our minds, and it has changed the entire electoral reforms and how vigilantism in terms of policing of elections are concerned. So we are very concerned about that. But I am very, very, very cautious of these particular statements that are being made by the NDC. Because if a material or a machine is missing or is stolen from a company, assuming it is done, a machine is stolen from Metro TV, do you come out to tell your listeners or your viewers that a computer has been stolen from our store? You will report it to the police. The Electoral Commission agreed that they've reported this matter to the police, and the police is dealing with that. The matter of interdiction and what have you is only related to their internal management system. So for us to say that if a machine is missing, they should just run out, come and tell the political parties or go and tell the public that this is what is done. I am all for calling for investigation in terms of verifying these equipments that are available. And we know before every election, all materials, before this registration, all machines, the number of machines and their serial numbers and what have you, will be taken by political parties in terms of what number is going to this place, what number is going to the other place. So all these things are going to be a matter of concern for all of us. So if a machine is stolen and they are dealing with that within their internal system, and the admission on that was specifically on Northton. He admitted that during the packing, when they were returning those gadgets back to them. You remember when you petitioned for Zabzugu and were in court, the BVDs for the elections for Zabzugu was kept at the Electoral Commission office. And your vigilante people were sleeping at the Electoral Commission office just to guard it. And you mentioned end of life. We all know the period, the cycle of which these machines goes through. So I am tempted to believe that
every span of these machines.
Every system has a lifespan.
Yeah, and
the
you
Electoral
don't know
Commission
the
has
lifespan
told
of this
us
anyway,
continuously that when they put data on that system, like for example for election purposes, it has its lifetime. It has lifetime that those data will sit on the BVDs. So this has continuously, and remember, I have told you, I have worked closely on IT systems when it comes to elections. And when you are an interested party, you have to be very interested in what happens within that particular system. So I'm for the investigation, but I'm in a way questioning the rationale, because these people might have done something when they were in government, and they are thinking that something is being done for the MPP. I want to state here clear that the MPP has nothing to do with any matter concern, because Omani Boama has continued in several other interviews, and my colleague Mustafa has continuously mentioned the MPP in these matters. And I want to state that we are going to win the 2024 general elections. We don't need any jara, any addition to any election victory that we are going to make. We are very much concerned that we have to protect the democratic process in this country, and we have to contribute positively to be able to achieve that.
So, Zaruna, let me ask you this. I mean, on the basis of what you have said, was your experience, what you claim happened when the NDC was in power?
Which is false, by the way.
I'm just saying that.
I will challenge him to that. It's completely false.
Assuming that what you said were even factual, aren't you not worried that if you have an electoral commission which is independent, which runs elections, has custody of the equipment, the materials, everything, trains its people, deploys the people, no political party or government plays a role in that? You're worried if the things that you alluded to actually happened. Aren't you worried? Is that not even a reason for you to question the credibility and efficiency of a commission like that? That's my first question. And secondly, if you look at the Electoral Commission and the fact that we all agree that there is a lot of suspicion, there's a deficit in trust and confidence and all that. Now, if you have IPAC meetings and then you have equipments that are used in the registration of voters, and you have identified that there's been a breach in your security, and you have informed the security services, shouldn't you inform the political parties as key stakeholders that, look, we have detected this, these are the steps we are taking, so we'll be following it and be updating you as and when it happens? Or when you had the opportunity before the Special Budget Committee in Parliament, and you were asked that question, and responding to the question, shouldn't you have also told Parliament that, look, yes, it is true this has happened. These are the steps that we have taken, at least to engender that kind of confidence that we all need going to the election?
Look, for credibility, all political parties, when they are in opposition, has always accused the Electoral Commission and doesn't trust the Electoral Commission. And for us, we are not only going to do so when we are in opposition. Even when we are in government, we are going to be very meticulous and very, very vigilant in terms of what happened. If the credibility of the Electoral Commission is being questioned by an individual or a stakeholder within the election process, I am worried because these persons that questions the credibility of these bodies might have certain issues that they are raising concerns about which needs to be addressed. However, there are many times that credibility of persons are being raised, and facts does not been adduced to support those particular. But you still have to be very worried about some of these matters. They might be true and they might be false, but it also goes ahead to dent the entire credibility of the election process, because if the person takes a constant view that this is what I will say, this is how I'm going to view it, it affects the output, because everything has input, process, output. And then when that is done, it affects the output, the outcome and the impact will also be affected. So for that one, I am worried. And the second part, you're talking about if such a thing is missing and you have such an important meeting as IPAC, or you have a special budget committee meeting. Randy, you understand, when you go for special budget committee meeting, I'm not a member of parliament, but Honorable here will support the fact that the discussions at special budget committee necessarily is not discussing your stock and machines that are within your custody. You know that thefts and missing items are dealt with at the managerial level as to how these matters are going to be done. And the first point of call is to report to the police service, which the Electoral Commission has admitted to have done. As to the details to be explained to the Special Budget Committee, I think that it was not even a matter for it to be discussed, because that was not the subject or the content of the discussion at the Special Budget Committee. And until maybe we see the Hansard of Parliament to know what kind of questions were asked and then the responses that were given to the Electoral Commission, we are unable to interrogate further as to whether they were able to respond to that or not. But as to IPAC meetings, every IPAC meeting has an agenda as to the matters that are going to be discussed. If missing or stolen items are not part of the discussion of IPAC meetings, and these matters are not raised to be given an amplified discussion at the IPAC meetings, the Electoral Commission might not be able to raise them. But
it's the EC that calls the meetings. There are always AOBs at such meetings. And
but Doc, you see, these matters, in terms of I've told you, in terms of usage of machines, the Electoral Commission has always reported to IPAC what machines, the number, the serial numbers, and what have you, even ballot papers and all those things. These are reported to political parties. Machines that are used in registration. Nobody can bring a foreign machines from somewhere to register people within a registration system when it is not part of the machines that were being dispatched. So I believe that every report has its own time. You don't report when the time is not due for you to report. However, if this is how we want it, information should be given in advance notice, then political parties are at liberty to request if such things do happen at the blind side of political parties, for which we think that there are matters that we have to look at. And I am surprised because, and the concerns that I've raised is because a body is managing its own system. Somebody else who is a stakeholder is portraying something to that particular body. The body tells you that this is exactly the situation, and you know more than the body. So you would question, is it that these persons who are raising it sent people after that body to pick up machines and equipment, and for that reason they have to amplify that? So you sit behind and you ask these questions, because if I say that my items are not missing, you continue to insist that it is. Perhaps maybe you might have sent somebody to do so, and that will call me to do a thorough investigation and search to find out. Because what the Electoral Commission is talking about in terms of the missing one, it was done during the package. It was done during the package. And at the time of the package, that BVR was missing.
So what's the police investigating?
So I don't know the nature of report that the Electoral Commission has done. So I may not be able to respond directly to exactly the question that you have asked, because the police will give the report to the Electoral Commission, and they will be in the position to answer this question perfectly for you.
All right. So,
yes, Haruna, when he started, made certain, dubious claims about NDC officials in the Sanargu district caught with electoral commission machines. I don't know the period that he is referring to, but nothing of that sort, in my view, has ever come to my attention or has ever even been reported in the news or reported to the police. Caught with machines of the Electoral Commission. Nothing of that sort has ever happened.
Look, I didn't say Electoral Commission officers. I said your officer, your party.
Yes, I said party officers.
I was there. The case was sent. Rashid COP was there. The current director.
Which year was
that? Was 2016. The current director.
That is completely untrue, because 2016 I was a candidate. Completely untrue. Nothing of that sort has ever happened, in that constituency and in that district at that registration center during registration exercise. Not once. What I do know happened, and this was, I think, 2018, 2019, thereabout, during registration exercise, where the Electoral Commission officers were overwhelmed with the numbers, and that is why we keep complaining about this idea of registering people at the district office, because people come from all walks of life, from different communities, and then they gather at one place. The electoral officers were overwhelmed when it came to filling the forms. When new registrants come, they fill the forms, and then they take the forms for their biometrics to now be captured. So during the registration exercise, at one point, the electoral officers were overwhelmed, and our election director offered to help them to fill the forms. And they gave him the forms. He was sitting there in the yard, not machines. They gave him the forms. He was sitting there in the yard and was helping the registrants to fill the forms. When your party officials walked in with police officers and harassed him to the point that he was taken to the police station. That is the only incident that I know has ever happened during registration exercise at the Salnaro district. Never has an NDC official been caught with any electoral machines, during registration exercise. So please, that is completely, what you said is completely false. But, then you go on to make a certain bizarre, scenario that the NDC may have gone to steal these machines, and because the Electoral Commission is telling us that the machines are not missing. Is that what they are telling us? Is the Electoral Commission telling us that some machines are not missing? They are indeed admitting that the machines are missing. The only problem is the, shifting of the goalpost about what kind of machines they are and the usefulness of those machines. That is the only story. That is the only story that changes in the narration. The usefulness of the machine and the type of machines that are missing. As for missing machines, it is accepted by them, and that is why they now claim that they made a report to the police and they have interdicted some 5 people. So it is not as if somebody is accusing the Electoral Commission of an act that has not been committed. It has been committed. A situation has arisen. Machines have been lost, or they have been stolen, or they have been given away, or they have been, traded. Not until a thorough investigation is done by an independent body, all these, suggestions I have made are plausible. They are either stolen, they are given away, they are missing, or they are traded. And that has been admitted to by the Electoral Commission, that the machines are not available at the moment. And so don't bring these, incomprehensible, theories about NDC sending people to take it and accusing them of missing machines when there are no missing machines. Look, I think that we need to be very, very non-partisan about the way we approach this discussion. It may be the NDC in opposition today. It can be the NPP, and inshallah, it will be the NPP in opposition, next year.
Not now, Doc.
And it is important that the Electoral Commission carries its, duties diligently in such a way that we all can have confidence in it. And I'm saying clearly, with the way they have dealt with this problem, it will not engender confidence in anybody with a fair mind. It will not engender confidence. Anybody with a fair mind will not appreciate the way they have handled this matter this far. And that is why it is important that we do not turn ourselves into spokespersons. 16. Owners were given like 500 Ghana cedis to service those vehicles and to change tires. 500 Ghana cedis. Where can you service a vehicle for 500 Ghana cedis after 4 years of non-service? And then also to change tires. The last district assembly elections, for the first time ever, Randy, the first time ever, only 60% of eligible voters ballots were printed for electoral areas. 60% in an electoral area. So if you go to an electoral area, you know that about 100 people are eligible to vote in this electoral area. They printed 60 ballots. And so in some cases, Electoral Commission officers had to take money from their pockets to go and print ballot papers. Yes.
How's that
I am telling you.
Ballot papers.
Ballot papers were printed, photocopied. They were photocopied, not printed.
District Assembly elections.
District Assembly elections. They were photocopied by electoral officers because they had run short of ballot papers.
And those papers were accepted?
Were accepted in some cases. In fact, in the Myang, one of the electoral areas, the one of the candidates rejected and resisted it. And so it resulted in a problem. And I think that election was not even concluded. You can check. The reports are there. I have actually the report from the regions to the national headquarters about problems that were associated with the last district assembly elections. 60% of the ballots were printed for them. And so when they started the elections, in some cases, they ran short of ballot papers. And they had to do photocopies. And remember, the ballot papers are serially numbered.
Yes.
They're serially numbered. So in this case, they had to print photocopy excess of 200, 300
the
in some
historical
cases.
Data,
yes,
which suggests that turnout is quite low in district assembly elections is what informed the printing of those numbers.
I'm saying this was for the first time. And this was the first time we're having the situation where people had to photocopy these ballot papers. Right. And I'm saying that those are issues that you can defend, and you can say maybe the woman wants to make savings. If he gives people one car tie to replace their vehicles after 4 years, you can say those are issues that you can defend, but not issues that touch on the integrity of the elections, like the missing BVR or BVD machines, whatever they are. We know that they have the potential of compromising the integrity of the register. And once the register is compromised, anything can happen in the course of an election. And that is why we must not, trivialize this matter and let the Electoral Commission get away with this crime. They must ensure that a thorough investigation is conducted and a proper audit is done of the system to assure all of us that we are ready for the December elections.
Right.
Randy.
In a minute. So
yes, I made a point. The 2018 issue that he has raised, I was part of those who discovered that his elections officer, in fact, I can state here on fact, that man was discovered behind the Electoral Commission office. There's a tank, there's a concrete wall for
carrying a machine.
Holding registration documents. Registration documents.
Filling forms for people.
Yes, he was caught there. I was part of those who.
Yeah, but that's what I said. But who discovered him carrying machines?
No,
that's a lie.
I'm referring to the 2018 issue. I was part of those who discovered him holding electoral commission materials.
Which materials?
That is registration forms. Filling for people. That is NDC people behind the electoral commission.
How did you know they were NDC people? Like I said, the electoral officers were overwhelmed. Maybe it was an indiscretion.
They were in the room doing the work.
But they were overwhelmed, like I said. And that is why we have criticized this idea of centralizing the registration exercise.
It's not about centralizing.
They were overwhelmed and they requested for assistance to help fill forms.
And he has to sit outside the electoral commission.
Didn't you? If you say you were there, didn't you see how crowded the place was?
Somebody says that he personally had to go run copies of biometric verification forms for a number of voters that could not be verified in. Is it Tanchara? Tanchara.
Tanchara.
Tanchara or Tankara?
Which area is that?
I think that it should be either Upper East or Upper West.
Oh, okay. So that incident happened in front of me. I verified that. Randy, you see, I have stated that I am worried.
I mean, he also says that they were told to photocopy and put a stamp on it.
Yeah, they were photocopied. And the ballots were photocopied.
The point is that the Electoral Commission serially numbered registration document was given to your election officer, and we caught him.
By who?
By the Electoral Commission. So, by the Electoral Commission.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's why I asked. Must you then not be worried?
That's why I said I was worried, because I answered that question.
Yes.
Yeah, but I ceded your second question to the Electoral Commission, because I'm not a spokesperson for the Electoral Commission. I'm here representing the New Patriotic Party. And I am worried because, you see, the NDC will continue to do this. And when they lose power, it masks the integrity of the entire election.
Yeah, but the Electoral Commission must also not give the NDC the opportunity.
I agree.
That is assuming that the NDC is just looking to paint the Electoral Commission black. The Electoral Commission, by its actions, must also not provide
the avenue. Yes. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Look, nobody has punched the Electoral Commission than the New Patriotic Party. Right from 1992, the stolen verdict, the processes leading to the quick ballot box, to the transparent one, to the register, to biometric system. When Gabi and Co were beating the gentleman whose eye was uprooted from his face and all that, these were processes that we have intended as a party, because we know that the Electoral Commission must open up to transparency so that we can trust the entire process. My brother sitting down here, they had poo-poo all these particular processes that we had put forward to the Electoral Commission. I am all for the investigation, because anything that happens to the electoral process will affect the victory that I am looking at for. And this is going to mar the peace of this country. But my concern is that the NDC seems to know internally more of what happens in the Electoral Commission. That is where, as a party, New Patriotic Party, we must be worried, because they seem to know more inside. Is it that they have an insider? Is it that they recruited a lot of people into the commission that they will even know how much is given to them to service their vehicles?
They have Kweku Baku and Nas and Manasseh.
Kweku Baku is a good friend of ours. Just like
I'm saying, they have Kweku Baku and Nas and Manasseh,
but
the Electoral Commission.
But I am worried because they seem to know internal issues, even servicing of vehicles. Even servicing, is it that NDC people have been recruited as directors of Electoral Commission and they come to report to them?
People who went at the Electoral Commission, people who went to school with us and live with us.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, but maybe
and engage us. We beat them at the mosque
and
they report more to the NDC. That's my worry.
And the people, and you see, Randy, I have always said that when you peel all the politics, all the drama, all the even religion. It comes down to patriotism. The average Ghanaian is patriotic.
Yes.
The average Ghanaian loves his country and wants it to be peaceful and on the right course. Yes. So when you have situations going bad and people are at workplaces where they can't do anything about it, it becomes easy for them to talk to those they think have the platform to say it. And so it is not rocket
so
science.
It means that
it's not like
informants
at
the Electoral Commission.
I mean, if you are a political party and you do not have informants at very strategic places, then you should fold up.
The laws of this country
pack up and leave.
The laws of this country encourage whistleblowing.
Of course.
But the point is, my worry here is that they seem to have somebody or they have bodies within the Electoral Commission. That is my point.
When you were holding press conferences in the back in the day, and you had
where were you getting your information?
Where were you getting?
No, we were looking at the face of electoral process. How will you know that we all know that open ballot system was not a good thing? You don't need anybody to assist.
We'll take a break.
In fact, the community is Laura municipality. Okay. I just checked, and I'm told that even the officers who were used for the district assembly elections have not been paid. They have been complaining all the time.
That one, electoral commission should come and explain.
Everybody. That's what I say. I mean, administrative.
Because the last time
the administrative issues we can agree or disagree with them, but on the issue of the integrity of the elections, let us not compromise.
Even at close sellers, we owe them. It's not. We'll take a break. When we return, the PURC gave some directives to the ECG on the 18th of March. Well, the dates for compliance have lapsed. The PURC has issued a statement dealing with all these issues. And there are some very, very troubling details from these issues. And then, tracking the tracker. Okay. I'll do some tracking with Haruna this morning. We'll be back shortly. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. And I still have the two Tamale gentlemen here with me on the show. So, Haruna, who I prophesy will become Alaji by next year. We'll be praying for him.
One from Yazali and one from Ghana.
You are from?
Yazali. I'm from Zabzugu.
Oh, okay. But Zabzugu is close, not so? How many hours?
Zabzugu to Yendi is 28 miles. And then from Yendi to Tamale is 60 miles.
Okay.
So that's about 88 miles.
About 88 miles up north is really not a journey.
It's a journey because of the bad nature.
Roads, okay.
Yeah, but he's referring to an old bad nature. Now Zabzugu to Yendi is third.
Okay. All right. Okay. So Adam Mohammed is the Deputy General Secretary of the MPP, and Alhaji Alhassan Suhini is the Member of Parliament for the Tamale North constituency. Now, what does wealth mean to you? Do you want to live like a tycoon? Remember, I was God the Mola, God the Power. Ghana's newest lottery game draws live on Adom TV at 9 a.m., 12 noon, and 6 p.m. daily. Now, pick up your phones, tablets, and computers and download the Game Park Games app on Play Store. You can also play on the website at www.gameparkgames.com or by dialing *946# on all networks. Just choose 4 numbers from 0 to 9. It's easy to play and easy to win. Charlie, make we play this game and make some mola. Nobody beats our odds in Ghana. Game Park Games, more mola, more power. This game is regulated by the National Lottery Authority and is not for persons under 18. Play responsibly. Ayesuku, Dakosobo Dan be big, but Betway's cash out be bigger. Betway is giving you more control over every thrilling bet you place. Enjoy the biggest and most reliable cash out in Ghana on Betway without any hassle. Sign up today at betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. It's not for persons under 18 and is regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Betway, get way more. And Blue Jeans energy drink has been on the Ghanaian market for over 20 years. We already know what it does for the body. It contains vitamins and nutrients like vitamin B2, B3, B6, B12, as well as taurine and guarana, which are known to boost your strength and energy, as well as promote high performance and endurance. Blue Jeans energy drink has been tested and tried. It's indeed the best. Blue Jeans energy drink is for bold and active men and women. So go on, grab a cold can and power your day. It's in shops nationwide. For bulk purchases, contact Budget Cash and Carry Limited on 0208 128 190 or 055 001 0000. All right, so I was telling you about the PURC and the orders that it made in respect of sections 311 and 24 of the PURC Act 538 and regulations 3945 of the PURC, regulation 2020 LI 2413, and it was directed to the Electricity Company of Ghana. Now, the PURC, as the regulator, has issued a statement on the issues of compliance. And there were three issues. One, tariff revenue allocation under the cash waterfall mechanism. The date for compliance was March 25, 2024. Provision of regulatory audit data and submission of information related to operational matters, March 27, 2024. And provision of other regulatory audit data, April 2, 2024. Now, so these were the three specific orders. And statement speaks about compliance by ECG. And so if you look at the document, and you can read along with us there on the screen. But before I get to my panel to speak to this issue, I have Mr. Bembuachi, who is the Executive Director of ASEP, who speaks with us regularly on issues around the energy sector. We have him joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Doc. Good morning to our viewers and also honorable members in the studio.
Okay. Now, Ben, with the exception of the issue of transformers, I am sure that the issues that have been raised here are issues that you and I have discussed severally here. I recall that sometime last year, if I'm right, either last year or 2022, your outfit actually issued this document that also dealt in part with the issue of the cash waterfall mechanism, and you explained it, and you were at pains to point
out to take the load from their control room at all times. So that is really what is happening. Another point that really shocked me is the realization that ECG, as of now, we know that they operate in about 61 bank accounts. And that is shocking because when we tried the PDS arrangement and PDS came in, all they did was to consolidate all the collection account into one. And by just doing that, without much, action, they were almost able to double the account, which really pointed to the fact that with ECG managing multiple accounts, it was difficult to track the money that was coming in, at all times. So for us to see that ECG today is operating, at least at this point, 61 accounts, which means that there could be even more accounts if a forensic audit was conducted to actually establish how many accounts ECG indeed, operates. So it is just the beginning for us to unravel what is going on with the utility to ensure that we can clean it much more effectively to deliver value for the consumer. I don't know why 61 bank account. I'm sure even if you put the charges together, that could be substantial, to mitigate some of the problems that we have in the energy sector. So it clearly tells you that there were people who were willing to go back to the old days of abusing revenues and using it the way they actually wanted. And I'm hoping that we'll push a step further to rather do a forensic audit of all these operations and how expenditure actually happens in these 61 accounts. How do we spend money in these accounts? Why do we need 61 accounts to manage the utility? So that we can get to the bottom of why the energy sector is bleeding this country dry. And it's creating a lot of the debt that we are seeing in recent past.
Now, Ben, let's go to the cash waterfall mechanism. And the compliance status is that ECG didn't comply. The remarks is that ECG partially complied with the cash waterfall mechanism by making payments for March 2024. ECG is yet to pay the shortfalls from August 2023 to February 2024. For the benefit of our audience, first of all, take us through what the cash waterfall mechanism is and what the ECG is expected to do on a monthly basis and what the implications of this non-compliance are.
Yeah, so if you look at, the report, PRC says for the power that has been given to, ECG, they should have collected over 8.8 billion Ghana cedis. They were able to do about 55% of that. And even the 51%, they have challenges with the allocation and disbursement of that money. And in fact, what the cash waterfall mechanism was supposed to do was to ensure that even though you have a shortfall, you're not able to collect the revenue. Whatever you collect, you can transparently distribute it so that at least everybody in the value chain gets some money. It's not, for me, the most efficient way to deal with the problem. The most efficient way to deal with the problem is to make sure that every unit of energy that is sold by ECG can be accounted for. And when you have sold a kilowatt of energy, there is a distribution cost, there is a transmission cost, there is a generation cost, there is fuel cost. All of that can be segregated and everybody paid along the value chain. We don't need any complicated structure around that. We just need accountability and efficiency from ECG. But because we don't have it, the compromise was for us to set up that cash waterfall mechanism so that at least whatever comes in, we'll be able to distribute for everybody to be kept afloat and maintain operational integrity of the system. And that is what ECG is struggling to even comply with. In most cases, they rather want to keep more of the money as the distributor, and they always claim that they have needs, assuming that the others don't have needs to be able to function. Because if the power is not generated and transmitted, there is nothing to distribute. So that has really been the challenge. And complying with the cash waterfall has become a major problem in recent years. I must say that when initially the cash waterfall mechanism came in around 2019, it was working fine. ECG was complying until sometime 2022 when they decided that it was not favoring them and they wanted to do their own thing. And that's why they themselves went to the IPPs to negotiate and said that we will pay on average about $7 million a month to each of them, cumulatively about $43 million a month, which represent, I think, about 30 to 40% of the monthly bill, and accumulate the balance essentially. And even that, they've been struggling to make that payment. They themselves imported that negotiated amount into the cash waterfall mechanism and are still struggling to comply with it.
Why are they struggling?
Cash waterfall committee. Yes.
Why are they struggling to comply with what they proposed?
I think that is a question that only ECG can actually answer. They said they couldn't comply with the cash waterfall mechanism as existed, and they pushed for an adjustment of the mechanism. They went to negotiate themselves with the IPPs, to be able to pay them that much money. But there are also other obligations, not only the IPPs that work in the space. You have the regulatory authority, Energy Commission, PURC, you have GridCo, which is also transmitting power, and they need to be kept functional. You have VRA, also generating power, and they need to be paid. Sometimes, even when they have done their best has always been to pay the IPPs and not the rest of the value chain operators, what is due them under the cash waterfall mechanism. So the level B, which is supposed to go to ECG, to go to GridCo, VRA, and the regulators, don't get paid in most cases. So I think that's what the challenge really is.
Now, there's an interesting part which has to do with the findings of the commission. And in asking the ECG to make the payment of 446 million cedis to the Category B persons, the commission is fined the board. And it makes the point that if it fines the company, in fact, it is the consumer who end up paying. So it's actually fined the board and is asking the board to pay the 9 members of the board, those who were on the board between a certain period, that is January 1 to 18th of March 2024, to pay the regulatory charge of $5,868,000. And they say that this is... they said that a non-compliance with the order shall be enforced under Section 32 of Act 538. This appears novel. It appears novel because I've sat here and I've raised the issue of how, especially if you even take RTI, how when there's non-compliance, the institution is the one that is fined, and not the persons who are supposed to have taken the decision. And so we end up paying ourselves the fine. It appears that this is novel. It says that the director should pay the fine.
I mean, absolutely. I think it's a positive signal, to keep people accountable. But in this particular instance, I will be delusional to think that the board members are going to pay out of pocket for these kinds of infractions. I mean, for them to sit there and sanction 61 accounts, and operating them within a sole source machine like ECG, they'll find ways to pay for it. We don't have the accountability structures within those institutions to ensure that it really genuinely comes from the pockets of the board and not ECG. With a cash flow of $1 billion a month, I don't think they wouldn't find ways to actually pay for it. And that really calls on all of us to push to improve the governance architecture of these institutions so that when these sanctions are exacted, we can be sure that those who are culpable will pay through their pockets and not find ways around, the poor governance mechanics to pay for it.
All right. So you touched on the issue of the transformers quite earlier, and it highlights an issue of a deficit in integrity and transparency. And we also have witnessed that spectacle of accusations and counter-accusations between ECG and Greatco. And for me, I call it a spectacle because I do not see any sane country actually countenancing that thing that we saw between the Greatco and the ECG. I mean, I find these details quite troubling. The deficit in honesty and transparency, and the lack of responsibility being taken by, especially the ECG in this matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been shocking. If you don't have enough to distribute, your sole responsibility under the law is to inform the consumer that you cannot distribute enough electricity within a certain period of time, and therefore some people have to be taken out. And we have known this as the data is beginning to show from August last year that there's always been deficit in generation. So with that background, I struggle to find why the utility, in this case ECG, will pretend that it doesn't know that there will be deficit, which will require that load is shared. And that's why I'm also curious why, PRC is refusing to go, jugular on that specific, to say that we know that there has been deficit, and you have refused to plan for that deficit. Every week, Greatco issues, the plan that indicates how much deficit we're likely to have within the week, and put out all the scenarios. For example, if there isn't enough fuel, they will indicate that if we're able to procure fuel and there is money, we'll be able to bring XYZ plants on stream. So at all times, ECG knows within a week, what the scenario looks like to be able to plan. So if you know that there's going to be a deficit in a week and you are waiting to be informed every hour when the power is going to be taken down, I don't think you're being responsible to the job you do, and also to the consumers who have paid you to supply power to them. And I think that is what ECG failed to do, to take responsibility and ensure that those deficits were accounted for and people informed adequately.
Now, I want us to end here, and we'll do so with this question. It appears from all the discussions that we've had, the work that you've done as ISEP and all that, and this particular report, it becomes pretty obvious that the ECG is not a fit-for-purpose organization. It appears that those who sit on the board are very complicit in what we are seeing. It appears that the management itself or the company is also not fit for purpose. It appears that we have a lot of showboating without substance. What do we do?
I think from where we sit, we've come to the conclusion that we have to go back to the drawing board and privatize ECG. The state shouldn't have any role. Otherwise, we're going to go back in circles. We will try and do something, and then the next moment, we are back to square one, and we are bleeding the budget again. So the way to do it is to have a private sector manage the distribution of electricity to ensure that power can be sold, money collected, and everybody paid in the value chain. If we're able to do that, that will insulate the government from many commitments, because then ECG will be the one contracting IPPs on their balance sheet and making sure that those commitments on government are relieved. So we need to do that. And that also gives the regulator, which is owned by the state, established by an act of parliament, to now have the teeth to bite and be able to regulate the space much more effectively. The situation where you have the regulator and the business owned by the state, it's not working. And in most cases, the regulator has not been able to act swiftly and efficiently. And that's why we are where we are today. If we were able to do that long ago, we would have been able to streamline
this is
how things work.
Ben, this is a no-brainer. So why must a government that is in distress itself be prepared to want to keep a company that is hemorrhaging at this point? A company that has its board appointed by the government, that has its management appointed by the government. In fact, what we've seen now, which many people believe flies in the face of corporate governance, is a deputy minister sitting on the board now chairing the board. Why will any government want to keep this hemorrhage? There must be some motivation.
I don't know at one point, how do we even separate the government from specific interests in the space? But I think all of this comes down to political settlement and who manages what within the political space to benefit who. Like I indicated, you have such a major sole source machine, that can be managed by interested groups. And that is essentially what they do. They abuse resources, decisions, create the debt, and then the state picks it up. So it's just people benefiting at the expense of the collective through such a liquid, if you want, institution. And they don't care about the consequences, and it keeps expanding and growing over time, to the point where every power you give them, they can't even account. By this report, over 45% of the revenues that they're supposed to collect.
Ben, thanks a lot for your time. We'll get in touch again. Thank you once again. All right, so that's Ben Boachi, the Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy, ACEP. Yes.
Randy, do you know the board of directors for the PURC?
Yes, is that the back page?
Yeah, I've seen some of the names. I'm just asking if they are known to you personally.
I know some.
Yeah, December is too far away, and February is past. I wanted to send them a hamper of love.
Okay.
And so maybe I will pass it to you during Eid.
No problem.
Eid al-Adha. I will send you some good, cow meat to send to them. Yeah, namas. Correct, nama. I think they deserve some, appreciable level of commendation for this bold, act of patriotism. In my view, I mean, it is a very carefully written regulatory piece. And I think if all our regulatory bodies were acting in this way and following it through, many of our state institutions would have performed better. I'm so impressed with how they have dealt with this issue of ECG's conduct or misconduct towards its consumers. Randy, they requested for 3 items. 1, the tariff revenue allocation under the cash water mechanism. 2, the provision of regulatory audit data and submission of information related to operational matters. And 3, provision of other regulatory audit data. And the ECG, I'm sure perhaps thought it was just one of the usual, requests or letters written by regulatory bodies without any intention to thoroughly examine what is provided. And I'm very certain that the ECG will be shocked by the thorough examination that whatever they complied with was taken through. And those that they did not comply with, the sanctions that they are expected to bear. And you have discussed extensively the cash waterfall mechanism with Ben Boachi. But I'm just surprised that the PRC is making the point that even though the ECG have actually made collections that should have been distributed through the cash water mechanism that was agreed by all parties, about 446,283,000 plus have not been paid since August to February to category B, and not A or A and B. Category B alone, 446 million have not been paid to the service providers under category B, and that is just unpardonable. That is just unacceptable.
You know, if you check the trick, if you look at the thing, they were given these directives on the 18th of March. So what the ECG cleverly did was that
they paid
for the month of March. Meanwhile, they have not been paying from August.
On August. You know, so that is again why we must commend the PRC for its intervention. But for its intervention, I'm sure April 2 wouldn't have been paid.
No, they've paid only March. As for April, we don't.
I'm talking about April. March. I'm sure March 2 wouldn't have been paid. But because of their intervention in March, they quickly went to pay for March, but left the outstanding, payments, which is to the tune of 446 million. I mean, how do you expect those service providers to also continue
7 months?
Yes, to also continue
and
providing
for those
who
perhaps might not appreciate this.
Yeah.
This is on the basis of what ECG has collected.
Yes.
Not even what they've been supplying.
Yes, and exactly. No, it's not what they owe. It's not based on what they owe.
They say that we've collected 51%.
Yes.
Of what we have sold. We've collected 51%.
So of the 51%, this is
by the formula. Even that one too.
And the estimation is that they collected about 7 billion. And if you have been able to make that collection, why is it difficult? Why has it become difficult to pay this to these other, agencies? And Randy, what impressed me most also had to do with the lie about Transformers. I mean,
in fact, whether we have
Dumso or not has been settled, beautifully by the data as reviewed by the PURC. You see, Randy, before we went on break in Parliament, I rose severally to request the House to invite the Minister of Energy to brief the House on the Dumso situation. And you know what they did? They played tricks with it. First, the majority leader insisted, even when the speaker who was presiding at the time agreed with me, that I should rather file an urgent question. Despite the fact that urgent questions are not usually, treated that urgently, he promised to see to it that it was dealt with urgently. I, conceded, and I filed the urgent question and followed it and insisted that he should also live up to his part of the bargain, and he did. So the table office transmitted the question to the ministry, and it was actually scheduled on the order paper until we rose every day. But the minister was always absent. But before the urgent question was filed, the minister was always around Parliament at least once a day. But it was, in my view, it was deliberate, because the minister could not have explained the circumstances that led to the power shortages without admitting to the fact that they were undertaking a load management program. So they had to avoid speaking to the matter. But this addresses the question completely. Randy, the fact is that the PURC determined that based on the data provided by the ECG, 4,142 outages were experienced by consumers. 4,142. And that is consumers within ECG, areas. I mean, in the north.
Not NETCO.
Yes, not NETCO. We are not even part. So 4,142 outages is without the outages experienced in the north. And then they determined that out of this number, 165, representing only about 4% of the total outages were ECG planned outages. 4,000. Only 165 were planned outages. And out of the 165 planned outages, we are told that only 38 of those outages were, outages that even saw notices given to consumers before the outages occurred. 38. Yes, they said 40, but I said 38 of the 40 notices did not comply with the requisite 3-day notice prescribed under the regulation.
So
only
two were in compliance.
Yes.
Out of the 40.
Even worse. Out of the 40, only 2 were in compliance. And I'm happy they have found them. Then they come to the explanation that were given at the time that the outages were as a result of transformers. They determined that we had the data submitted showed that out of 715 transformer details submitted, 31 were loaded, less than 70%.
Yes.
595 were loaded between 70 to 100%.
Yes.
And only 89 were loaded above 100%.
Yes.
Then interestingly, they discovered that the commission established that 647 outage incidents occurred between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. Of these 647 outage incidents, only 3 were planned. Only 3 out of the 647 were planned, relating to transformers. And that the analysis showed that the majority of the outages between 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. were as a result of load management operations by Gridco. So why? I mean, Randy, I've said it so many times that, look, the abysmal failure of this government is not as annoying as its dishonesty. It's an ability to face up to the facts and tell the people of Ghana the truth about situations. They take us for granted and they think they are smarter than all of us and they can deceive us at every point in time. Why couldn't they just own up? Instead of lying to us about transformers, about all of this, the data they themselves have provided, the PRC says does not support the claim.
The workers themselves had issued a statement.
Yes, I remember.
I made the point that, look.
Why? Why do you treat the Ghanaian who has had so much confidence in you to give you power with that disdain, with that level of disrespect? When things are not right, own up. Be responsible. That is what leadership is about. Look at what the Minister of Energy told us, that we should go and publish our own timetables. I mean, the utter disrespect and arrogance that we should go and publish our own timetables. I am so excited about the work of this PRC leadership, that I think that all regulatory agencies must take a cue and set up. And I'm sure that will encourage many state institutions to live up to expectations. As for the issue of the fines, I am happy. And if you look at it also, they were very careful about how to distribute it. Randy, you see, the first breach, they expect ECG to pay the call, waterfall mechanism, the 446. They expect ECG to make those payments because you have made the collections. So you shouldn't have any excuse of not making the payments. Then the second breach, the bank statements, and I'm also concerned, like Ben Wachi, that the one company will operate over 61, bank accounts. It says that ECG again should pay that one about 36,000 Ghana cedis, and that's where the outages without notification came in. But with the other aspects where they find a board, I think it is also very well placed because it is substantial. And they make the argument that, look, if they ask ECG to pay, that is rather going to hurt the consumer again because ECG has no money than the consumer's money. And whatever the consumer pays is supposed to help ECG to improve a service. So the board members must be held liable for some of these things. And I think that will ensure that boards of institutions also learn that they are responsible and they should act so.
Right.
Yeah, Randy, I think that I must also commend the PURC for doing a thorough work with regards to this particular request that they have made to the ECG. 3 items of compliance were requested from ECG, and these 3 items were broken into about 13 or so. If you look at the number of compliance, you see that ECG has complied with about 8 of these 13, and no documents was submitted with respect to 5. Out of the 5, only 2 where they did not submit just a document at all. Out of that, the 3 is that they have submitted partially some data to PURC. I can see that Honorable Suyini is trying as much as possible to bring in an answer that is very convenient to him. And I believe that power distribution in Ghana is very important to every citizen, no matter your political color, because we have come to live with electricity, which is giving us so much comfort in terms of supplies, in terms of productivity, in terms of home comfort and all that. This is something we must all be very worried if it is not provided as much as possible that we need it. If you look at the report, they talk about between 7 to 11 p.m., right? That is a period of just 5 hours.
That's peak time.
Yes, that's peak time, but 5 hours. You ask yourself that the periods that we had done so for 4 good years, you could wake up for 3 days that you don't even have electricity. And if this pain is being expressed by my good brother,
went 3 days without electricity in this country.
Everybody knows
during the electricity crisis.
Everybody knows that at your time there was Dumkura. Where there is no light.
Tell me how it happened.
So within these peak hours, 5 hours, I think that the people of Ghana deserve better to be served in terms of delivery of power to the good people of Ghana. I don't know if we talk about load management. Is it the same as DUMSO?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Is it the same as
DUMSO? What is
yes.
So load management between 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then load management between 6 a.m. to another 6 a.m. or even extended for 72 hours. Ghanaians would clearly see the difference. I am not seeking...
See, we have... This thing is very annoying. Because we had no business to even be here. If you had managed the system well, we had no business to even have this comparison.
Let him finish.
Because the situation was fixed and handed over to you, and you messed it up, and you are now very comfortable doing comparisons.
Randy.
Like, it's shameful.
Yes. Randy, he said it was fixed.
It's so shameful.
Yes. He says that if this program finishes well, you will take us for a party.
Yes.
Then we, at the end of the program, because it did not finish very well, you did not take us for the party. Mm-hmm. Is that a good program? No. Mm-hmm. The power minister told the people of Ghana, if he's able to complete that, he will stay. If he's unable, he will resign. Did he resign?
Yes, he did.
He did, because if he did not...
He was not able to fulfill... Let's just clear this.
Your propaganda is on overdrive.
Yes.
Resigned because he gave a particular deadline.
Yes. Not because he didn't
by
fix it.
that deadline, it wasn't fixed, he will resign. By that deadline, it wasn't fixed, he resigned.
So it was not fixed.
I said, by that deadline.
By that deadline.
But we all...
In fact, by the time that he resigned, there were arguments that he should stay on because certain things that had been put in place was going to ensure that it was fixed.
So
but he gave the deadline.
That somebody else fixed it.
Who? John Mahama fixed it. Your candidate now, His Excellency the Vice President, said that he fixed it but didn't deserve credit in 2016. He said that.
You see, we live in this
country.
you
want to lie about
that? What's the argument we're making now?
No, I don't get it. The argument here is that we are talking about 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. That's 5 hours.
But me, as a consumer of electricity, I do prepaid. So I give the ECG...
Even if you give me off for 30 minutes...
money ahead.
No, I understand.
Just although I give the ECG money ahead for them to supply me the electricity. If the ECG would have to take off my lights, by the law, they are supposed to inform me when there's a load management.
Whether for 20 minutes or 5 minutes.
I'm with him now.
Whether it is for 1 day, and I'll tell you something. I live at Chad. I'll tell you what I've been experiencing. Even last night, you would have a situation where the lights goes on and off about 3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times. I experienced that. I think we are on the same page.
That have messed up because of that. I've had to buy UPS about 3 or so to support some of them. Some of them just blew on the basis of that fluctuation. I'm saying that
yesterday my water pump
the ECG cannot come and lie to me that there's no load management. They can. I'm saying in any other jurisdiction, on the basis of this disclosure,
you can take them to court.
Disclosure by the regulatory agency.
There will be talks.
Nobody on the ECG board and the ECG top management deserves to be in office.
Yes, Randy, I agree with you. That's what I said. That
nobody, even at the Ministry of Energy, at the top, minister or deputy, deserves to be in office.
You see, that's why I said that power in any nature must not be defended because we have come to live comfortably with that. And your explanation of you being a prepaid person, you pay ahead of time. If they deny you power, it's not enough justification to say that, oh, denying you power is a good thing.
I understand,
but
I understand that there are circumstances.
Yes, but I'm saying
under which I will not have the power. I understand. But kindly inform me.
No, I agree. But for him, who has unjustifiably given people dumso.
How did you do that unjustifiably?
You see, for 4 good years, what is the period that we have here? You are talking about 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. here. This is what is being written in the report. We are talking about 5 hours.
No. The report sorry. So we don't misrepresent the report. The report doesn't suggest that lights go off only between 7 and 11.
But currently,
dealing with the peak time.
Currently, this is what they have reported. They have not been able to report on other.
No.
Here,
listen, they said 4,172. 142 outages.
Between which
Pick
hours?
It from there.
Between which hours?
Yes. So
we are talking about the specified hours here.
So
7 to 11 p.m.
And how many times?
I'm saying that.
How many times is that one? How many times is that one?
7 to 11 p.m. as compared to 6 a.m.
No,
to another 6
listen,
a.m.
you are not getting it. Aruna, take your time. You see, take your time. You read it very well. The 7 to 11 p.m. deals with 647 outage incidents.
Yeah, but
we have had 4,142 outages.
Within which hours?
Aruna.
Exactly. Within which hours?
In some cases, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Aruna, kindly listen to this.
In some cases, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Kindly listen.
Not the difference.
Kindly listen to this. It says that this is outages attributed by ECG to 630 overloaded transformers.
Yes.
Now you recall that it is the ECG statement on these overloaded transformers that mentions 7 to 11
p.m. They mentioned
ECG statement. Now, so this part, the 1.4, is dealing with outages attributed by ECG to 630 overloaded transformers.
Yes.
Between the hours of 7 and 11.
Yes.
So this is a specific statement that was made by the ECG.
Yes.
About outages between 7 and 11.
Yes.
Attributed to transformers.
ECG said that if you got power between 7 and 11, it's a transformer problem.
Because the ECG, you know why they did the 7 to 11? They're saying that 7 to 11 is peak.
Yes.
So during peak, the transformers are overloaded. And that is why you would experience those things. So that statement had nothing to do with your outages. Yes.
See, with all that English,
outages.
With all that English that they have said,
yes,
they came and said,
yes,
the analysis showed.
Yes.
Who did the analysis?
No, before you go to the analysis, start from the data submitted by ECG.
Yes, you see, the data
there.
submitted by ECG was further compared to the total outage data provided by ECG for the period January to March 18, 2024.
Yes.
The commission established that 647 outages, 647 incidents occurred between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m.
Right.
Of these 647 outage incidents, only 3 were planned outage relating to transformer.
Yes.
That is related to their provision of information regarding transformers.
Yes.
But PURC went further to say that the analysis, which analysis? All the data submitted to PURC.
No.
showed that the majority of the outages between 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. were as a result of load management operations by GRICO and fault unrelated to overloaded transfer. These were very specific.
Yes.
Do you get it? So their analysis, entire analysis, concluded on the fact that 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. They never said 6 a.m.
No.
You get the point? So, Randy, you see, we are dealing with a report.
Listen.
This report is very convincing enough.
You are a bit confused.
I'm with Randy now.
You are a bit confused. You are a bit confused.
You've stopped hosting program for a long time now, so I'm with Randy now. So
you are a bit confused about this matter. Look, when they say that.
No, just hold on. Before you go to 1.4.
Yes.
Please read 1.3. Please read 1.3.
But Randy, all boils down.
Just hold on.
They did all that and did the final analysis.
No, Aruna, hold on. Please read 1.3.
Okay, 1.3.
Yes, please.
Before the analysis.
Yeah, please read 1.3.
Which analysis?
No, when I read 1.3 and finish, I have to put the final analysis.
Yeah, please read 1.3.
All right. The commission established from its analysis of data submitted by ECG that there were 4,142 outages to consumers within ECG's operational areas between January and March 2024.
Okay.
Out of this number, 165 represents 4% of the total outage where ECG planned outages.
Yes.
That means that 4% is on their planned outage.
Yes.
They never mentioned the time period of the planned outage.
Oh no, there's a January
analysis.
They told you January.
No, by the time.
Don't go far.
No, I don't mean month time.
So you are choosing that it was between 7 to 11 p.m. But someone can choose that it was between 6 a.m. to 11
He's solving the
so I'm solving the problem. The puzzle. I'm solving
the 1.3 that you are reading.
So
hold on. The 1.3 you are reading. A commission established.
Yes. So
from its analysis of data submitted by ECG, that there were 4,000 and 4,142.
Yes.
Underline that. That is the magic number.
Yeah, 4,142.
The PRC says that per the analysis of the data submitted by ECG, there were 4,142 outages.
Yes, agreed. Yes.
Okay. Now, so just underline that one.
Yes.
Then if you go to your 1.4, your 1.4.
Yes.
It says outages attributed by ECG to 630 overload the transformers. So it is now going to a subset of the outages.
The 4,000,
which is outages attributed to transformers.
Not debatable at all.
Yes. And then under the outages attributed to transformers, it now speaks about the 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And I told you
that it was
that
an ECG.
ECG statement.
They
told the public that
as for the outages between 7 to 11, it's transformed.
I will respond.
It's an ECG. So they are telling us that between 7 and 11, these were the number of outages that occurred.
Yes, so between that period. So if PURC...
So what it means is that between 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The outages that occurred were the 4,142 minus this one.
No. Randy,
why no?
The analysis here.
So at what time did the 4,000 occur?
If PURC had observed any other time period, except the mentioning of month, they would have indicated the time. Between these time periods, these other outages happened. But they are saying that ECG lied to them that this number of outages had happened within this particular period. But actually, this is what happened. And it happened between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m.
We don't have time. Hold on. When you get to the office,
take your time and read it. And read it again.
Randy, the final analysis is that the analysis
and that's another mistake
the majority of the outage between 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. was a result of a load management.
It is not final analysis.
They have not
the analysis are based on points.
Out of the 4,000,
it is based on points.
So out of the 4,142. Yes. I don't even know why we should go back and forth.
I don't know.
Out of the 4,142, what this statement establishes is that 647.
Yes.
647 out of the 4,142 occurred between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m.
It's the 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. we are talking about.
646 out of 4,142.
has not mentioned a different time. They have stick to their 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. If they had reported the remaining outages,
if it is not deliberate, I have a difficulty in appreciating the analysis you are making.
No, Randy, you see, when we all sit down and read this, because we all got this document.
Yes.
Now, but if you read it, if you go back and read it, you agree with the point I am making that PURC's final analysis.
The commission established from its analysis of data submitted by ECG that there were 4,142 outages to consumers within ECG's operational areas between January and March 2024. 4,142 outages.
Uncontested.
Now it comes back to say outages attributed by ECG to 630 overloaded transformers. So these are outages specific to the overloaded transformers. And they are saying that for that one, there was 647. They are not saying that 647 outages occurred.
I don't have problem.
They are saying that those ones that ECG attributed to the overloaded transformers were 647 out of the 4,142.
No problem. No problem.
So,
they have done all those analyses, and they have come to say that the analysis shows that the majority, the analysis of the 4,000.
Randy, you see another mistake he's making. Randy, let me come in here. Let me come in here. Let me also engage Randy. You see another mistake he's making. Randy, he thinks that.
No, it's deliberate.
No, is it because it's not in that paragraph? It is in the report.
Exactly. They are addressing the issues
it is in the
based
report.
on paragraphs. Randy, so the first paragraph is different from the second paragraph.
What I am reading is in the report.
But he thinks that the fourth paragraph, 1.4, is the total, is a summary.
Honorable Suyini, are you telling me that?
I believe
are you telling me that the 4.3? No, you see, Randy, are you telling me that 4.3.1 is only related to that part? It is some calculations that they have made to arrive at that one.
Which one?
So every calculation, the 4.3.1, where they have said that the 446 million has to be paid by ECG, right? They calculated it based on all the paragraphs that they have done here. You get the point. They did so. So
I just want to ask you a question.
It's tiring. Randy, it's very tiring.
I mean, the document is out. There's a public document.
It's tiring.
I'm sure Haruna knows what he's doing.
Oh, no. Randy, I'm just being factual.
Now,
really? You think you are being factual?
Yeah, I'm just being factual and exposing the report that is the conclusions of the report to the public.
No, so you really believe you are being factual on this?
But you see, you cannot jump them because all the paragraphs are dependent on each other. They are not independent.
Okay, I hear you. How many projects are on the tracker? How many?
Hey, Randy. On the tracker,
yes.
I need to go on the tracker.
How about 13,000? I'll provide for you.
I need to go on the tracker. I can't pick it from you. But on the tracker, the projects that are on it are specifically indicated in the different sessions that
do you have an idea as to the total number?
That's what I'm going to open the tracker myself. I have not had the time to go through the tracker just as I should have done to it. So in terms of establishment, they are divided into different sectors, which have not been cumulatively been put together. No, I have not checked to see whether it's put together. But if you look at it, establishment of STEM senior high schools, they put it as 10. 5 has been completed.
So you don't have
5 is ongoing.
Figure.
Yes, basic school project 523. Perhaps if I interrogate further on the tracker, I may be able to see a cumulative figure on that.
I'm asking the question because I've heard people who've done the addition say that it's 13,000, a little over 13,000 projects.
I haven't done the additions on the project, on the projects that has been put in there because they are put in thematic areas, one by teams, categories, and by ministries.
Okay, then since you don't have that, I'll leave my question. But it's a legitimate question. I'll ask it.
Yes, so when I get the data, I will come back.
Because in 2020, we were told that on that tracker, the performance tracker, there were about 18,000 plus projects.
Which they demolished after the elections.
No, 2020, we were told that there were 18,000 plus projects. And then 4 years on, we were told that there are about a little over 13,000 projects.
I'm opening it, the summary.
And even the 13,000.
You've seen the summary?
No, I'm opening the summary, but it's taking time to.
Even the 13,000, they have so far said 60.
No, I just wanted to
60,
first of all
67
establish.
entries.
I just wanted to establish how come
the
4 years ago we had 18,000
vanishing projects.
And don't forget that. How the speed humps.
Yeah, speed ramps.
Made it there and the cathedral didn't make it. It's astonishing.
I think Randy is also even grouped
toilets.
into all the summaries like staff accommodation, the total, staff bungalow rehabilitation,
so
staff renovation. Yes, at the end the total is not being put in here. I have to verify that.
All right, because what I wanted to find out was how come 4 years ago we would have 18,000 plus projects, and then 4 years on, the projects will reduce by about 5,000.
I can confirm because I have to check the data vis-a-vis what was presented.
What about the wrong entries?
But it's good for a government to come out and admit that some wrong entries.
Would you give details of the 67 wrong entries so that people are able to identify that indeed when I go onto the page, this is one of the 67? Because if you just
I think the details will be
provided so that we know.
Yes.
Because we are still discovering more.
So thank you.
No, but the good thing is that out of those projects that has been put, your constituents are enjoying most of this particular project.
Most of it.
Let me track what is going on social media. But today is the birthday. Speaking about energy and today is the birthday of the former. Today is the birthday of the former energy minister, Mr. Boakye Ejako. Today is his birthday. So happy birthday to you. The Honorable Boakye Ejako, happy birthday. Great man.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you, Your Excellency.
Up next,